Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about paint. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. We all know the White House in Washington, D.C. It's famously painted, white. But many people believe it was first painted white specifically to cover up the black scorch marks left after the British troops burned it during the War of 1812. What do you think? Is this an actual fact or a popular fallacy? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is pigment. That's P-I-G-M-E-N-T. A pigment is a substance, usually a dry powder, that gives color to other materials like paint, ink, or even plastic. When the powder is mixed with a liquid substance called a binder, like oil, water, or acrylic polymer, it creates paint. The word pigment comes from the Latin word pigmentum, which means coloring matter. This comes from an even older Latin verb, pingere, which means to paint. For thousands of years, people have sourced pigments from nature. Early cave painters used earth pigments like ochre, while some of the most famous colors in history, like ultramarine blue, were ground from rare gemstones and often more expensive than gold. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about paint. Number 1. Humans have been making and using paint for well over 40,000 years. Our love of color and creation is ancient, deeply ingrained in humanity. I would even argue this capacity for creative thought is how we got out of the trees. It's part of what makes us human. Some of the oldest known paintings are found deep within caves like the Cave of El Castillo in Spain, where red discs and hand stencils date back over 40,000 years. These first paints were made from materials found in the natural environment. Early artists would create their pigments using ground-up minerals like red and yellow ochre, hematite, and manganese oxide. They would then turn them into paint, mixing them with a binder like water, plant sap, animal fat, egg yolks, or even their own saliva. Number 2. Scientists have created a super white paint that is so reflective it can cool surfaces below the surrounding air temperature. Imagine a paint working like an air conditioner without using any electricity. Researchers at Purdue University have developed the world's whitest paint, which is so effective at reflecting sunlight, it can actually cool the surface. The paint reflects up to 98.1% of all solar radiation that hits it, while also emitting infrared heat. This means that the surface coated with this paint can stay cooler than the air around it, even in the midday sun. The secret behind this ultra-white paint is a chemical compound called barium sulfate, which is also used to make photo paper and cosmetics white. By using a very high concentration of barium sulfite particles of different sizes, the paint's able to scatter the maximum amount of light and heat away from the surface. Scientists are excited about the potential for this technology. Covering roofs of buildings with this paint could dramatically reduce the need for air conditioning, saving energy and helping combat urban heat island effects. Number 3. Enough paint is sold globally every year to fill over 20,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The global paint market produces over 13 billion gallons a year. That is such a massive amount of liquid, it can be hard to visualize. For comparison, an Olympic-sized swimming pool holds about 660,000 gallons. That means we can produce enough paint every year to fill more than 20,000 of them. A huge portion of this paint is used for architecture, protecting and decorating our homes, schools, and offices. But an equally large amount goes to areas many people don't think of, like industrial purposes. This includes the protective coatings on cars, airplanes, and ships that prevent rust and corrosion. It's also used on furniture, appliances, electronics, and even the lines on our roads. From our walls to our phones, paint is essential in just about every object of our modern lives. Number 4. Paint is a sort of shapeshifter thanks to the physics of shear thinning. Ever wondered why paint stays on the brush without dripping but spreads smoothly once you move it against the wall? This is because it's a non-Newtonian fluid. Specifically, it's thixotropic. When paint is sitting still in a can, it has a high viscosity. It's thick like jelly. But when you apply shear stress by stirring it or brushing it, it becomes thin and liquid. The moment you stop, it re-gels and thickens up again. This physics trick is why we can paint vertical walls without the whole coat sliding down to the floor. And our 5th and final fun fact for today. Colors might seem like a silly little matter of personal taste, but historically, color has been a matter of life and death, and even some major drama today. The quest for the perfect color can have a bit of a dark side. Believe it or not, until the early 20th century, you could walk into an art supply store and buy a pigment called mummy brown. As the name suggests, it was made by grinding up actual Egyptian mummies, both human and feline, mixed with white pitch and myrrh. It was a favorite of many pre-Raphaelite artists for its rich, transparent brown tone. The practice only stopped when the supply of mummies actually started to run out and artists realized exactly what they were painting with. Legend has it, when the artist Edward Burne-Jones discovered his paint was made of actual mummified people, he held a small funeral in his garden to bury his last tube of mummy brown. And the dark history of pigments doesn't end there. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a vibrant shade called Scheele's green was the height of fashion for wallpaper and clothing. Unfortunately, the secret ingredient was copper arsenite. That's right, arsenic, the lethal poison. In damp conditions, the wallpaper could actually release toxic arsenic gas into the air. And many historians believe this killer wallpaper could have contributed to the death of Napoleon Bonaparte while he was in exile on the island of St. Helena, as his bedroom was decorated with gold and green flowered wallpaper laced with the poison. And here's a fun little bonus fact. While today it's not such gloom and doom, color is still kind of a battlefield. In 2014, a company created Vantablack. Now, Vanta is an acronym for Vertically Aligned Nanotube Array. It's a coating made of tiny carbon nanotubes that basically trap light, so it absorbs 99.96% of light. This has a weird effect where it makes 3D objects look like flat black holes. The artist Anish Kapoor bought the exclusive rights to use Vantablack in an artistic context. As you can imagine, a lot of other artists weren't happy about it. In response, Stuart Semple started creating his own colors like the pinkest pink and the blackest black, Black 3.0, making them available to everyone in the world except Anish Kapoor. To this day, when you buy them, you actually have to sign a legal disclaimer at checkout stating that you are not Anish Kapoor and you will not give these paints to Anish Kapoor. Now for some news you can use. If you've ever painted a room, you know how tricky it can be to get a crisp line. The first thing everyone will tell you is to use painter's tape to mask off an area, but we've all experienced that frustrating moment of peeling off the tape only to find splotches where the paint crept underneath. Here's the pro tip: caulk the tape. After applying the painter's tape, run a very thin bead of paintable caulk along the edge of the tape where it meets the wall. Smooth it over with your finger so it's paper thin. Once it's dry, you just paint the wall. The caulk creates a physical barrier that makes it impossible for the paint to seep through, leaving a perfect crisp line. Now, if you don't have that paintable caulk, you can still apply this same idea. All you have to do is use paint to create the seal. Let's say you're painting a blue wall against a white ceiling. Tape the line, and then, before using the blue, paint the edge of the tape with the original white ceiling paint. Let that dry, and this will seal the tape with the background color. When you finally apply your blue paint and peel the tape, any bleed that happened was the white paint, leaving the new blue edge perfectly straight. Now for the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked if the White House was painted white to cover up fire damage from the War of 1812. Well, that's a fallacy. The building was actually white long before the fire. It's built from a porous gray sandstone, and to protect the stone from moisture and cracking during winter, it was coated with a white lime-based wash back in 1798. That was 16 years before the British arrived. While it certainly needed a fresh coat of paint after the Reconstruction, the White House was already famous for its color. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about the science and history of paint with me today, and be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.